once you hit record.
We are just going live now.
Okay.
Yeah, so welcome after many recommendations. Finally decided to reach out after I recorded with your friend, colleague Austin Stout.
Yeah, definitely.
Once he recommended you, I knew I had to reach out. So
Yes.
I want to say first off, thank you for coming on the show. Um,
Glad to
Actually,
be here.
I want to do something real quick because this is how I want to intro into this, which is I'm just gonna get right to it, and I'm actually gonna share my screen real quick. I've been testing this out, so this is you right now,
Yes.
basically. So kind of just give us a little. I just want to show people for reference.
Yeah, okay. Yep,
This
Devin,
is
that's cool.
this is 3 weeks, right?
3 weeks dieting, yes. Yeah.
How so what type of shape are you in then to start? If this is
I'm
3 weeks of dieting.
always pretty damn lean. There's a lot of pictures on my IG that y'all can see.
Yeah.
I stay about 4 weeks out year round. That's how I stay. I mean, I'm 42. There's really no point in pushing calories like crazy. My blood pressure just rises. My digestion bogs down. So I just stay lean year round and I take the gains that I can get, but I don't really chase. And I always am just looking at staying healthy and kind of in that zone.
Yeah. I actually I recently started I would say binging your podcast,
Yes.
both of your podcasts, because I actually had Jevin, who you just recently had
Yes.
on the
Yep.
Excellence Cartel. I had him on about 2 days
Okay.
before you guys did.
Nice. Yeah.
So
Heck
that
yeah.
was pretty cool to see him also, because we discussed nootropics on my episode.
Okay.
Pretty cool to get
Yeah. He's a
even more
young
in
up and
depth.
coming guy. And so on the Excellence Cartel, we're really big in giving back. And so we will, like, every fifth episode have like an up and coming coach that we kind of notice, kind of knows their shit and really should have more following. And so we picked Jevin for that month. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm hoping to reach up there. I'm starting to learn slowly but surely. He's 20, which kind of
yeah.
surprises me.
Yeah.
I'm 22, and he seems like he should be
Yeah,
like
he's very
20.
mature, very well read. But that's what it takes in this market anymore to stand out. So
Oh yeah. And I kind of want to get your kind of view on podcasting in general. I think
yeah.
this is something that's really cool. So how'd you kind of get into this realm? Like, what made you decide to get into podcasting?
Yeah. So going back years ago, there was a podcast called Geared Up, and I was a regular on there to present just like info. They say, "Hey, man, can you come on and talk about XYZ?" And I always got really good feedback from it, and so it always helped with new clients. And my buddy Jeff Black, we've been good friends for a while. He's a client of mine. He's on the Excellence Cartel, and he said, "Man, you and I should really start a podcast." And he's like, I'm thinking of bringing Sue on. He's like, I think it'll be a good dynamic. What do you think? And I'm like, I'm there, man. Like, I think it'll be great. And so that's how that one developed. And then John Gorman, I'm on with him on the Elite Physique University. And I had driven to St. Louis a couple of times, maybe 2 or 3, to be on John's TNT podcast live. And that was kind of a natural progression too. We had always kind of talked about it. He, his kind of ran them before. So he said, look, I'll make sure, do all the back end. We just got to record. Are you interested? And I said, yeah, man, I think it'll be great to be on both. And, I like to give out free info. I like to give out info. I like to help. I'm just that nature. I've always been on the message boards. I've always wanted to give info. And, I've always found that the more info you give, it shows people that you know what you're talking about, and they get a feel for you as a human being. And then that connection plus that knowledge really helps someone say, hey, I would like to work with you. You know what I mean? So it is one of those things that I do it selfishly, but there is still always, some of that, hey, if I put out good info, it turns out good for me too.
Yeah. I've actually found the best thing to be kind of like what we're doing right now, which is connecting and allowing. And now that I'm expanding, this is going to be on YouTube. So
Cool.
you're still looking good and pretty right now for the YouTube. But I think it's awesome to kind of see people interact in this type of modality
Correct. Yeah.
of
Agreed.
podcasting. I think there's a different vibe to it. I'm only recorded episodes, probably around 75
Okay.
episodes recorded.
Yep.
Out, just released episode 50.
Okay.
So it's like I've been doing nonstop.
Yep.
Once I was in college, this started almost a year ago for
Okay.
me.
That's awesome.
So it's
Yeah.
been pretty cool venture, and you get better. And as
Yeah.
with time with most things, you get better and better at it, and it's more
For sure.
smooth, which is
Yes.
what I
Yeah.
actually like about the Excellence Cartel.
Great. Good to hear. Yeah, we're just kind of three guys just bullshitting back and forth. We're all friends, and the vibe kind of just flows from that angle.
Yeah, I think also with your human connection in the beginning too, the daily update, the
Mhm.
weekly updates that you guys do,
Yep.
like when you guys say you might be struggling one week, that
Right.
also I think is a pretty cool thing because social media and today's society, there's a lot of ups and
Oh
not
yeah.
too many
Many downs.
showings of many downs.
Yeah.
But there's way more downs than there usually is
100%.
ups,
Yep.
which is pretty interesting to see. So we're definitely going to get into some of that. But I just wanted to ask kind of first off, just how's your prep going?
Yeah.
How's the peak week? I know I listened to people can definitely go get more of a detailed strategy of what you're doing for peak week on the Elite on your other show,
Yeah.
right?
Elite Physique University. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I kind of just want to ask what's your mindset kind of going into Tampa
Yeah.
this week?
Yeah.
Especially with everything going on with COVID and all
Yeah.
this stuff. What's your kind of mindset going into it?
So, I mean, here's the deal. For a lot of the listeners on yours who maybe not know, my wife and I decided to separate about 4 weeks ago. Very amicable. We've been together 17 years, and it's just to the point where we just don't make each other happy, but we're amazing business partners. We own 4 different businesses, 2 are 7-figure, 2 are 6-figure, and we're going to stay business partners. And actually we're getting along better now. So it's a sad thing, but it was also one of those things that we both kind of felt freed. And so at that point, she said, yeah, why don't you do the show? Go ahead. Now I think it'll be great. And so we always kind of had a contention there where she didn't really want me competing anymore. And so she said, do it. And I always stay about 4 weeks out. July 4th, I had about 6 or 7 vodka and sodas. I had people over the pool. Her and I threw a party together and just said, look, don't choose sides, come party. And then by that Wednesday, I had a DQ and some sloppy joes with the kids. And I said, all right, I'm going to start on Thursday. So I was about 3 weeks and 3 days out. And I said, yeah, let's do it. And so, my mindset this whole time has kind of been that, even if COVID knocks this show out, the diversion's been nice. And what I wanted to show my clients was, because a lot of them struggle with this, like when they get bad news, they reach for food and they're just like, screw my progress. It boggles my mind, but it's like, yeah, my boyfriend broke up with me this weekend. So I ate like 8 pints of ice cream, 2 full packs of cookies of Oreos and blah, blah, blah. And they're up 10 pounds. And I'm like, so now you're sad and fat. Like you should have just stayed sad and like doubled down on your nutrition because you're going to want to look good. You're single, but like people's brains don't work that way. So I just wanted to kind of show like, look, this is a tough time, but I can control my nutrition. And so like most of the diet, I was moving my house at night. So that when July 18th came and the movers had to move my furniture, I could be in that day. So I would be training all day, working clients, and then moving my house. So it just kind of kept my mind busy. And I wanted to show that during tough times, you can double down and still make it happen. So,
Yeah. And I think one thing you definitely have kind of control over is definitely your cortisol. I feel like that would have risen. That would have been.
It did.
Yeah.
It did.
Okay.
But, I own Nuethix and we have a product called Cortis. And I started taking like 2 to 3, like every 3 or 4 hours for a while. Cause sleep was a little tougher. When you're just under that stress, that gun of, this is what's happening. We got to work out this finances. We got to work out that. We got to work out this. Like, oh, we got to work this out. Like, oh, the fridge isn't good. I still don't have a fridge. Like, so I had to go find it. That took me 3 stores, and I moved all my shit in, and then they told me I had to move it all out.
Yeah.
So like, I moved 3 times in a week, basically. So there was a lot of things that I was just like, I had to just kind of be like, all right, well, that's another thing. Suspension in one of my cars went out. That was $6,000. So it's just one after another, and it all hit during 1 week. And I just wanted to see if I could do it. It's just a challenge, to be honest with you. Like, I really have no high expectations. Like, I've never been out of the top 5, but I've only done 2 pro shows. And so this show is tough, and to only give it 3 weeks of a diet, most people say you're nuts, and maybe I am. So.
And how many tries did you actually go for pro? Was it like John Meadows like 15 times? Or
no, it wasn't quite like that. So like in 2010, I did nationals my first time, and I was peeled. Like, I looked good, and I ended up 16th. And like after 16, no one places. And I was pretty salty about it, to be honest with you. Like, if you go look at picks, but I shouldn't have won, so it didn't matter. Like, top 2 got their pro card, so I wouldn't have won.
Yeah.
And then I didn't do any pro qualifiers for many years. And then once Classic Physique came out, I was like, all right, this fits my build. I'm going to give it a go. I've dieted 7 weeks for junior nationals in 2018, and I got 3rd, and you had to be top 2. There was 22 people. And so I was like, all right, well, I know I can get this done. So then Masters Nationals was in 4 weeks. I dieted harder, got more shredded, and I won the entire overall for the 35 plus there that day. So really, technically, I've only been on like 3 or 4 pro qualifiers before it took me, but I was 38 years old. So it took me many years to build the density. I just was one of those guys that was skinny, no real muscle to him. And I had to really fight for every bit of density that I have. And it just took time and age, basically.
Yeah. So what was that deciding factor then in 2010 to finally go after the pro show? Was it kind of always just a buildup of you knew you were going to compete?
I was always going to do it. I just had to get good enough. And I was 32 years old, and I finally had built what I felt like enough density. I could get shredded and my glutes would striate. Before then, I just didn't have enough density in the backside. Just everything that you need to get a look for a pro card just wasn't there until I was 32. But it was always something that I was working towards. But I never put bodybuilding before other things. I've been a financial, I've sold stocks. I've had my Series 763. I was a lawyer for 15 years. My careers always came first because that was what you needed to do. I had a family and everything else. So it was never at all cost bodybuilding ever.
Yeah. And especially now, I guess you said you're how old? 40, 42?
2. Yeah.
So, you're always in contest shape, which is always a good thing in a way. I think a lot of people have some ifs and thens. A lot of people always describe maybe it's not always the healthiest to stay close to that, but for you, it definitely is. What is it like doing prep with all these things type of going on, like managing it all? Because I feel like a lot of people always think that a bodybuilder, or at least a pro bodybuilder, is just a bodybuilder.
Right.
But there's more that you're doing. You also run 2 podcasts, you run multiple businesses, your own coaching. You're coaching other people who are going to be in the same show.
Correct.
And you also have kids. So how do you
And I just had my son this weekend. I try to first and foremost, I make my meals as simple as possible. I have no problem doing a couple tuna packets and rice cakes on the run. So if I have to take my boys somewhere, I have to be somewhere. I'm very flexible in my meal planning. It doesn't have to be chicken and rice, like that meal. Like, do I prefer my beef or my chicken that's cooked and my rice? Yes. But like, if I have to roll out, I can do our ISO perfect shakes. I can do rice cakes all day and make things work, and pot fish oil. So I'm very flexible, and that's the only way to do it. I took my son out to dinner this weekend, and I just got what I could, so you've got to be flexible, to do it with everything I've got going on. But I've got good people around me, like, Nuethix. My ex-wife still basically runs most of that. At this point, I'm a formulator, and I'm a media presence with it. So I have good people around me helping in every way. I'm not an island by any means. We just hired someone at Nuethix too, Zeb Crawford. He's awesome. He's helping me do the Team Scooby build out. So I like I said, you just have to know how to lead properly, and mine's just kind of by example. And I have a lot of good people around me. But so I manage it with flexibility. I manage it by staying lean because I don't have to diet as hard, and then I manage it by having great people around me. So
yeah, I guess that's the real benefit of only being 3.5, staying 3.5, 4 weeks out at all times is like you don't have to spend 4 months taking away.
No, like, I mean, I pushed it
Time.
hard for 10 days and only carbs around the training and then very low fat. And I was just about there. And I didn't start feeling shitty until, about 14 days into the diet. And by then you have 7 days to go. So, it's just, the fat at that point is a little bit on the glutes, a little bit on the low back, and it all came off fairly easily, especially as much like NEAT as I was having. Because usually I'm not trying to move a house every night. Like I'm sitting on my couch watching TV. So like my NEAT went up crazy. Plus I added cardio. Plus I pulled a bunch of carbs. So, I tightened up pretty quick.
Yeah. And then what's your training like too, to kind of stay healthy at this age? Because at my age right now, I am very low volume, very high intensity, basically almost Dorian Yates style training. Because I know my body can handle that, but I know yours would probably break down and tear something.
I've never done well with that type of training. Even in my 30s, I tried the dog crap stuff, and because I'm a big fan of Dante, but I just didn't seem to be able to generate what I needed in order for that type of setup to work in terms of ligaments and tendon strength. So the way I train is I do a lot of tempo work. And if your audience isn't familiar, if you're taking the bench press on the negative, I might take 3 seconds to get into the hole. I'll pause a second. I'll make sure in that pause, I'm thinking, all right, firing, nothing with the pecs. I come up, I explode fast, and I might flex hard for 2 seconds. And that's my rep. And so I don't have to go as heavy. And I can work on perfecting my form, and I can always tweak things to make and recruit more fibers. So I'm always trying to make my reps look better. I'm always trying to make my reps executed better and get better at them. It's just like a quarterback that keeps throwing. They don't stop throwing because they make the NFL. And so I always am trying to make the lift better. But I'm not sitting here squatting 500 pounds anymore. I got a right knee that's jacked up. If I do squat, it's, 4th or 5th in the rotation, and it's 225, and I'm doing, maybe 1 and 1/2 with a really slow tempo. There are times when for about 4 to 6 weeks, I'll take tempo off and I'll just do a piston style training. So it's faster and I can handle more weight. Okay. And then I just watch my elbows and my joints. But my joints were starting to bother me. And I've been working on this product for Nuethix, and it's got a patented ingredient in it. And I've only been trying out the patented ingredient. And my joints feel 10 years younger. So I can't wait. Our product's going to be out soon. And it's going to be a game changer. I know when people try it, they're like, holy shit. So that's helped me, adding that patented ingredient. It's called creselazine. And we're going to get the rights to use it. So that's helped me a lot. But yeah, man, it's more tempos, slowing down, and really perfection of the reps rather than just chasing a logbook.
Yeah. Now, when you program training for clients too, as well?
Yes, I do.
So when you are prescribing clients, it's very individualized approach. I know that based off of, you look at biofeedback, like stress, like what's the stress coming into your coaching?
100%.
How do you normally approach kind of prescribing training when like each person might be different with whether it's high volume or low volume, but higher intensity? Because a lot of people usually stick to that one training that works for the coach or whatever the coach usually prefers, and then kind of coordinates it with every single athlete that they have. But at least with me, I know some people, you're not going to get intensity right away. You have to teach them how to get that and build that up.
Yeah. So a lot of times with clients, what I'll do is I'll actually start, a lot of people come to me and they're doing basically just progressive overload.
Yep.
But most people get to that point and they still don't know truly how to recruit all the fibers of each muscle. So a lot of other muscles are taking into account the brunt of the load when they're training. And I was that way myself at one time. And I really didn't get density until I learned, tempos and intensity and how to really grind and feel every fiber. So I start a lot of my people with tempos because they usually come to me just using progressive overload. So I want to slow them down. I want to teach them proper mechanics, proper cues, and then I'll work through a few rounds of tempo and then I'll remove it. And then I'll have them allowed to just go with progressive overload for 10 weeks. And then I'll pull them back a lot of times and then go back so that the body can rest a bit. And I might work from 4 to 5 to 6 days a week. My guys who are natural, women, men, might only never get past 5 days a week. People who are assisted might get up to 6, but I kind of rotate it through in terms of progressive overload and working on tempos. And our tempo work is where we really focus on more of cues and really teaching how to fire the muscle. And then once you understand that, you can remove those tempos and allow them to go heavier, and they still can then recruit the muscle properly. That's generally how I teach it.
Awesome. And then do you implement intensity techniques too within this as well, such as rest pause, drop sets?
100%.
I'm not a huge fan of drop sets. In my personal opinion, I don't find them effective. Maybe on something like a side lateral raise, it might be, but I am more of a fan of rest pause. But that also might be the way that I am training now. It works.
I use both. And then it depends on, again, PEDs or natural on, if someone is on performance enhancing drugs, I might allow them to do every final set of every exercise. They might do a drop set or they might do a rest pause. But if someone's natural, I might only have them pick one exercise for that body part. And on the last one, they take it and really crush a rest pause type, 2 or 3 of them, and then call it. And then I would do that for every body part. So it really kind of is going to be dependent on the client, on their recovery abilities. Are they using PEDs? Are they 100% natural? How many days are they training? If I have someone only training 4, I might be able to, even if they're natural, use more rest pausing and more drop setting. And I do like drop sets. I think they're effective. I use both. And I'll even do things on leg presses sometimes where I shock the body and have someone do a strip set where they have to do 100 reps pretty much without resting, start with 4 plates or something and do 25 a round. So I do throw things in like that. But I'm always leery of the CNS and just paying attention to things. But overall, yes, I'm a fan of both of those intensity techniques.
So I'm kind of thinking about that. I have legs tomorrow, kind of thinking about that leg press set makes my legs kind of start to shake.
It's amazing, man.
That would be
once a month. Awesome.
No, that would just make my legs it would be so.
They're so engorged and, but I said, that wouldn't be a weekly thing. It'd be like once a month, maybe 2 times a month if someone's on PEDs. It just depends on what athlete you're dealing with in recovery, obviously.
Yeah. And I also want to ask you one more training question before we get into something else, which is, what has been the benefit of lowering training volume? I think this is one thing that a lot of people, I got this question actually today from a new client I onboarded over the weekend, and I did his program and I kind of asked him what he did before, and he's like, oh, I go in, maybe do like six exercises, like 4 to 5 sets each. I'm like,
right.
How hard are we really train? So I lowered.
You're not training hard. Yeah.
So I lowered the volume down to like 4 exercises, and he has a top set and a back off set for each one.
Yeah.
And he's like, there's only like 7 sets per workout.
Right.
And I'm like,
right.
Well, you're going to be sending me videos, so I make sure you're actually utilizing this
training, right? Yeah.
7 workouts. But what's been the benefit that you've seen from clients who come from the same situation mine has, where they are doing some sort of 6 exercises, 5 sets each?
Yep.
And now doing like 4 and 4.
What I mainly see is obviously a fuller physique because density starts to be able to come out. What's happening with what you're describing is they're holding back. I mean, when you get a client who's doing 6 or 7 different exercises because they think they got to get every single angle and they're doing 5 or 6 sets, there's no way that they're ever reaching true mechanical failure in any of those and then beyond at all. And so, a lot of times you see kind of a flat physique, kind of a worn out physique. The CNS is trashed. So when you focus training properly, you're going to see a rounder look, and you're also going to see over time a more dense look because you're going to be able to focus on getting that intensity that you need, getting those fibers recruited, and getting to that mechanical failure. So that obviously strategy of that client that came to you, I would expect them to make really big strides here the first 2 months, training properly with proper intensity, with properly applied calories, So that's definitely kind of a beginner type failure there, or screw up.
Yeah, I was I was like, once I implement this and I implement the carb cycling that he's going to be doing, I was like, you're going to be gun hoing in the next few months. I was
Mm-hmm.
like, watch what happens.
Yeah.
I was like, we're going to dig these lifts right into the dirt,
Yeah.
and you're going to get every single ounce that you can possibly get out of these things. And then maybe we'll think about adding volume at
Yeah.
that point. But
Yeah.
at that
100%.
point, it takes years.
Yeah.
I was actually
Yeah. 100%.
just getting off. This is the first time I've ever doing 2 podcasts in one day. So it's
Okay.
I'd never done that. And I just got off with one of Matt Jansen's coaches.
Okay.
Nick Clough, he's a new one.
Okay.
They just added a bunch of coaches, and he's like
Gotcha.
a training person. We kind of just chat on a bunch of RIR and all that
Gotcha.
type of training because we don't believe in that doesn't cause an adaptation. That's
Yep.
what we say.
Exactly.
So,
Yep.
but I kind of want to ask you about formulating your products because I think this is the coolest thing. So I've had the pleasure of having other owners of supplement companies such as Doug Miller.
Yep.
Austin Stout also helps. I've had Ben Hartman on the show too.
Yep. Yep.
Those two were incredible with the way that they think about formulating. So I kind of want to get into just want to touch on how do you think about formulating a product, because you've had some that have come out like Gut Defender, and you look at these things that are helping a ton of people, but it comes from you actually taking the time to formulate the product so it does actually be effective for these thousands of people.
Yeah. So the formulation duties fall to me and Vince Pitstick. He's also one of the owners. He owns Nutrition Dynamic, and he's a functional nutrition coach. And I've learned a shit ton from him. And basically our main strategy in formulating is identify a problem and then fix it, and then put the proper ingredients in it so that they actually work. When people use our products, they're like, shit, these work. And that's a big compliment. And that also is an indictment against the supplement industry that people actually have to say that, or that they're left saying that, like, oh shit, I feel this. Like, yeah, that's the point. So we really try to identify a problem and fix it based on what we know and what we can research for nutraceuticals. For instance, the Gut Defender was Vince's baby. He's very good with what, kills certain bacteria, candidas, yeast, all those different things. But like our new Jumpstart product, I wrote that mainly, and then Vince gave his 2 cents on it. So a lot of times him and I, one of us, it'll be more of our babies, and then we'll collaborate on it. And so that grew out of the fact that when I had women go on Anavar, I needed a way to get their HPA started again. But then I also saw a need when someone diets, a product that would keep hormones just completely as much as you can in a proper form so that there's no rebound after. And so we're like, yeah, this is the perfect anti-rebound product. And so that was the problem. The problem was dieting causes a lot of people's hormones to tank. What if you come up with one product that can prevent that, or help at least lessen it, so that you can rebound faster and then stay on it afterwards and get your period back, or if you're a man, get your testosterone back. So that's how that grew out. So we find unique problems that have not really been dealt with, and we try to fix them. And that's been our formula.
Yeah, I remember listening to that. Jumpstart sounds like an awesome thing. I haven't prepped yet, but that will probably be something that I utilize.
100%. It'll help keep your testosterone up, estradiol where you need it, 100%. And then you'll come off your prep easier too. Run it like 4 to 6 weeks after, and then you'll be golden.
Yeah. That's a long time down the line. Whenever my coach says it's go time. Yeah, that's basically, I leave it up to him. I think it's pretty cool though that we now have access to products like that, because 5 years ago there wasn't even the products we have today, nor even the quality of the products. I think that's one thing that you also kind of stand for, which is pretty cool with your product that you were describing with your joint one, is that you're going after all these trademark product.
This one's patented, and so it's not going to be on the market. Our chemist is a badass, Jeff Galini. He's well known in the industry. He owns EFX, and then he also owns his American Sports manufacturing. And this is a patented ingredient that he has to allow someone to use, and it's just been kind of sitting dormant. And I was like, hey, I want to research this. Let me try my body. And my elbow's been bothering me. My right knee's been bothering me. And I'm telling you, my training partner's like, what the hell is going on? And I also added our new youth, which is 4 different trademarked forms of collagen. It's not just cheap collagen thrown in. And between that and the joints, I feel amazing in my joints. So I'm really excited for those to come out. And, like I said, just identifying problems and building a better mousetrap to solve the problem.
Awesome. Yeah. And bringing up Nuethix, kind of want to go in how did June, I guess your ex-wife, kind of start the company, and then we'll go into more of like the hurdles of maybe the beginnings of it.
Yeah. So the interesting way that we started was, so I originally was doing diets under Natty Nutrition. Okay. And I brought her on as a coach. She was an engineer, but hated her job. And she was really analytical, and I knew she'd be a good coach. And soon she had 60 or 70 people under her. And I was still prepping people under Natty Nutrition, but they'd come to the website and be like, I don't want to look like him. And, we of course be like, well, don't worry, it takes years and you ain't going to look like him. But we realized that I had to get out of the business to let her flourish. So I gave her the brand there, and I started Scooby Prep. I had always wanted to have a supplement company. And back then I was messing around with glucose disposal agents and combining different ones together. And I came up after talking with a few guys who were in the know, and then experimenting on myself, I came up with the formula for Slintrol. And Slintrol is my first GDA, and it's under Natty Nutrition. And my wife just goes, I was like, man, I'd really like to start a supplement company. I've always wanted one since I was in, college. She's like, well, just give me the formula and I'll call around manufacturers and do the research and I'll get it made. So I was always kind of the idea guy, and she was always kind of the one who put pen to paper and got it done. So Slintrol was born, and we still sell Slintrol under Natty Nutrition. And then I also started seeing a need for a really good estrogen metabolism product. So we created Suppressed, and that came out under Natty Nutrition. We still sell that today. But as the line grew, I just didn't have enough knowledge yet to be what I wanted to be. I was adding creatine, I was adding glutamine, I was adding all these things that weren't that sexy. And I was just not really feeling like this was the time. So we pulled back, kept those 2 flagships. We met Vince Pitstick, and he had an idea for bringing basically functional medicine principles to bodybuilding and to physique sports. And I said, I love it. I said, I've already got 2 products, because insulin sensitivity is part of functional med. So is, estrogen metabolism. I said, we can take these and tweak them. And that's what we did. We took Slintrol, we adjusted it, added berberine, added a few other things, green tea, some B vitamins that you need to improve insulin sensitivity. And there, GDA Max was born. We took Suppressed, added some ashwagandha, rhodiola, and made it Estra Cort. And now that was born. And those were our 2 flagship products that we launched Nuethix with. And so if I hadn't done Natty Nutrition, my ex-wife and I, we might have not been as well-versed to start. And that's why he wanted to start with us, because we had already had a foray into formulating and running a small little supplement company. So it was really Vince's idea of bringing it to us thinking it was just a bomb-ass idea, and then us already having some products that we could tweak and make our flagships. And so we launched with 2 products in 2017. Ever since then, our growth has been astronomical. We had projected to do 1.5 this year. We're probably going to do closer to 2.5. Wow. And we're just growing fast in our 4th year. So it's really kicking ass. People are really receptive to it, and they understand that we're putting out products to solve problems, and they work. So
what was the biggest struggle what's the biggest, I would say either biggest struggle or biggest mental hurdle for you with the company? Whether it's maybe formulating products, getting stuck on those, or just the growth of the company.
Yeah.
What has been the biggest struggle?
The biggest mental hurdle for me always in everything I do is I'm very analytical and I'm very cautious, almost too cautious. So I'll tell you, I kept practicing law I practiced law for 15 years, and I was building my business as a coach. And I could have got out of law at year 5. But I stayed 10 more years. Scooby Prep was already doing $300,000. I don't mind sharing that. I've shared it other places. And that's a very cautious approach. Most people who had a job, or if they hated it, once they were making 100K at coaching, would have been like, adios. And I stayed to triple that and kept working, lawyer hours plus 100 plus clients. But I did it because I'm very cautious. And so with Nuethix, I was the same way. Like we only put 20K in, he put 20K in. You know, if we weren't as cautious, you know, we probably should have went with, you know, 100 and just doubled down and brought everything out right away.
Yeah.
Would it have been a better launch? Maybe. I don't know. We're doing great now. But for me, it's always being cautious. We finally hired a marketing team. And, you know, that stuff's not cheap when you're marketing on social and they're building strategies for you. So that was a tough one for me to swallow. We had already got the 6 figures on our own, which they were really impressed with, just grassroots. And I knew we needed to do it, but I'm always like, oh, that spend. But, you know, I get over it quick, but that's me. I'm just very cautious. I'm very dollar tight. And sometimes in business, you've got to just roll the die and go for it. And I eventually do, but I'm kind of always the calming or the more subdued voice of reason. And then my other partners usually are like, this has to be done. We got to get this going. And I'm like, okay, I get it. But those are my hurdles as just a businessman in general.
Yeah. So it's kind of more, you have the opposite of the abundance mindset. It's really limited in a way. Like you think, oh, I'm going to lose this money by investing it and you're not going to make it back. But when you actually make that decision to invest it, you make.
We've kicked ass bringing on our marketing team. They're called Fit Legacy. They know the industry. They've been amazing. And you know, it wasn't like I wasn't going to do it. I'm just always the one kind of like, ugh.
Yeah.
Sure. Are you sure we need to spend that right now? Like, but you know, it's probably good to have one partner like that to check everyone else. But I know it's one of my shortcomings. And so I work to quiet that inner voice many times.
Yeah. I've actually struggled with that in the past year. That's been the one thing is this seems to grow. I will hopefully be expanding to 3 episodes a week. I'm already at 2. So expanding to 3 while also having a full-time job while also trying to expand my coaching.
Yep.
Like
you're doing the right thing, man. Like I've always had 2 hustles. Even when I got out of law school and had a job, I ref soccer at night. And I would go to these indoor fields and I would go from indoor field to indoor field. And I always had I'd make about $600 a week. So that was an extra 2,400 cash under the table that I always had. And so I remember I'd be going out on these dates and I'd always have this wad of money. You know, they thought I was like, I mean, I was doing pretty well, but they thought I was like loaded, you know, but I've always had 2 hustles, man. So as long as you can do it, especially while you're young, you're going to get ahead doing it. Trust me.
Oh, I basically have the past year. I would consider I had a job as I worked in the bar industry, actually my last 2.5 years of college.
Yeah.
It kept me more organized, which was the biggest thing out of it all. I mean, not working late nights and having to wake up early isn't the best for bodybuilding in general, but you know, you got to get through somehow with college.
Yep.
And you know, it's paid off, but I love doing this stuff and it always pays off.
Keep it up, man. At 22, you're doing more than I was in the industry. So that's really cool.
Yeah. And you get the nice little money from I worked my way up to bar back. So you get a nice little tip out that
at the end,
doesn't get written off on the tax return. So it's good. Exactly. Hopefully the IRS ain't listening to this and then they're come after
hopefully
me.
Not me either.
But you brought up law school. And I think this is like the first episode I listened to because I sent you my story the other day.
Yes.
I don't know if you got a chance to read it.
Oh yeah, I looked at it.
I've been through hell and back.
Yep.
And I actually was listening to your depression and anxiety episode. This is the one that really kind of hit home with me, just from my background and everything, and going through school. And I kind of want you to kind of go over your dealing with the anxiety in law school, and we could kind of relate points here real quick.
Yeah.
I know you're kind of on a time crunch, but we can get into it a little bit because I think mental health is always something I actually strive to get with every single episode in some aspect. And I think you would be someone great to hear from because people always think, like I mentioned, everybody always sees the ups, but they never saw the downs from before you were Scooby Prep.
Yeah. So when I was in law school, it's interesting. If you would have asked me back then if I was ever nervous or anxious, I would have told you no. And the reason is because my body was actually always on. I was battling flight or fight pretty bad. I'm a really adrenaline dominant person. It's been verified on neurotransmitter tests. I have barely any GABA or serotonin. I'm pegged for norepinephrine and synephrine, which is basically your adrenaline.
Yeah.
The guy who read my stuff was like, yeah, you're all gas and no brake. And I'm like, all right, it makes sense. And so at that time in my life, I was trying to bodybuild too and go to law school and try to maintain, you know, as close as I could to the top 10. I knew I really didn't want to be in a law firm, so I didn't care, but there was still that prestige of staying close to the top 10.
Yeah.
And I made it my first year, but then I kind of faded to about 15. But, you know, I was really an anxiety-ridden wreck, but I didn't know it. And I would get random pains in my pelvic floor and different things like that because I was holding it in that way. You know, some people hold it in their neck. Some people, I didn't really understand it all. And it took me a lot of years to realize that, oh man, like I've got to do something about fixing this anxiety. I need some nutraceuticals to balance this out, get my GABA going, get my serotonin going. So I'm a big user of our Cortis, phosphatidylserine, ashwagandha, CBD. I rely on a lot of those things for what nature kind of didn't give me. I think I got it from my mom. If I, you know, she walks everywhere fast, she eats fast, she talks fast. It's just kind of ping, ping, ping.
Yeah.
And
Mine
so
does the same too.
So I think I kind of got all that from her. And only later in life did she finally get on some anti-anxiety meds, and now she feels so much better. But she was like 60 something. But, you know, I used to try to use mainly natural remedies, but even natural remedies, I've tried 5-HTP on its own. It still doesn't help me as well as a 10 mg of Lexapro does. And there's really no side effects there. 20, there is sexually. You can't orgasm. It sucks. But at 10, I'm good. So I use it, you know, and I think anyone who needs something like that shouldn't be ashamed to use it. You know, I still use my nutraceuticals, but I do add that Lexapro, and it just seems to do a better job keeping me level keeled. When you have high anxiety, you know, for those people listening who don't have it, you're more apt to kind of snap and just, you know, snap off at the mouth, and, you know, and you don't even think it's an issue, but then the other people listening are like, whoa, dude, like, you know, take the edge back. So with the Lexapro and different things that I use, that stays away. So law school is just when it really started to come to fruition. You know, you're 22, you're starting to be an adult, the experiences of life are adding up, but I'm sure I've had it all my life. It's just I started to get physical symptoms in law school, and they lasted through a lot of my 30s until I really started to understand fully everything that was going on with my neurotransmitters and how my body works. So
yeah, I feel like for me, at least for me, it was when my anxiety came from, well, you know, from my alcohol kind of addiction I had. Last year I drank way too much, basically every 4 or 5 days a week. Benefit of being in the bar industry, people, you get free drinks every single time you go. No, I actually drank it about 3 times past 8. What month are we in? July? 7?
Mm-hmm.
7. I would say I had one for my graduation, and then I was like, okay, I'm good. But you know, the hardest thing is you never notice those physical effects or even the mental effects until you kind of start reflecting on it.
Yeah.
And I don't know if you did any mental reflection on it, because that's when I kind of came up with this whole podcast and everything was from that mental reflection of it.
Nice.
So did you go through any sort of mental reflection of that and seeing maybe how to improve? Because I've also used natural remedies such as since I'm with Morphogen, I use Morphocom.
Yeah.
And Ben does an incredible job with that stuff. So it's helped me tremendously at nights. Because I also hold a government job, so I can't do any of the other good stuff, which you can actually do. So it's like, damn.
I like my THC too. I ain't gonna lie.
But I kind of wanted to see, how did you kind of reflect on it? And
I'll be honest with you. In my 20s and early 30s, I was not very introspective. You know, I thought I was totally fine. You know, I knew I was dealing with these things, but I didn't really know what it was. all I knew is that, see, when you have anxiety like I did, and it's not depression, it's not anything like that, you get up and you're ready to charge through your fucking day. And when you're in your 20s and you're going to law school and you're trying to bodybuild, and I also had a job on the side, I was a law clerk at a law firm, that extra energy, that adrenaline, it helps you get through life.
Yeah.
So, you know, a lot of people who have what I have are very highly successful. It's just at some point it catches you. And for me, it was, you know, chronic pelvic pain and different things like that. It could have easily been migraines. It's just where I held it. So as that started to happen, and I could see when I would get tense, I'd get more like fluttering and, you know, spasms in my pelvic floor, and there'd be pain. So it was almost like a barometer for me. So that physical sign started to cause me to look at what the hell is going on? Why is these muscles tight? And that led me to being more introspective. I'm not sure, had I had the pain, I would have caught on until I was much, much later in life, because I just was not that introspective of a person in my early 20s and 30s. Now in my 40s, it's all I do is reflect. You know, I reflect on, you know, why did this not work? Why does this work? Why can I be in this relationship? Can't be in, you know, all these different things that you think about it nonstop. And I think as you get older, you do that. And I think there's plenty of 20s and 30s who are introspective. I just was not. And like I said, until those physical symptoms hit, I probably would have just kept charging through life. And who knows, maybe I would have had high ass cortisol, and then, you know, you have heart problems later on. But I know now everything's in range. I check it and I'm good. So that's kind of how I led to more like internal thinking on it.
Yeah. And would you give someone the advice maybe to be more introspective at a younger age?
Yes.
But I think it's the hardest advice to give is to be more introspective. So what advice do you think you could probably give to actually allow someone to get more introspective? Because
I think I have some good advice here. You know, I think it can be dangerous. I think it can be good.
Yeah.
If you're to the point where you miss the forest through the trees because you're so busy always trying to tie meaning to every little thing that you do, I think you can debilitate yourself. But your big sweeping issues, you do need to think about. Like, you know, if you've got chronic pain, or you've got, you know, you wake up every morning like I didn't feel like you were ready to run a marathon. Like at some point you have to start thinking like, this isn't normal. What's going on? And then think about it. But I do find that some people these days, they're way too deep in thought about everything, and it paralyzes them. It's like paralysis by analysis, or analysis, you know, whatever, analysis by whatever.
Yeah. I never know which way it goes.
Yeah. And so, you know, I think that you have to watch for that, but 100%, I wish that I had thought more about things that happened as a child and how it impacted my behaviors earlier in life. You know, it may have saved my marriage. You know, it may have saved other friendships, relationships. But just don't paralyze yourself in doing it.
Yeah. And, you know, I've actually found, and I don't know if you found it by maybe speaking it on that episode, but I found my introspection comes through my episodes in a way. Yeah, so I actually do a Monday sit down with Anthony episode. And I kind of it's a random episode I do every Sunday. I kind of just record for 20 minutes and I just speak my mind. It's kind of like a brain dump in a way, but it also lets me kind of reflect back on moments when I come up with the topic.
Oral journaling, basically.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like yesterday's topic was within suffering, you find your purpose. Because I found my purpose to create this and to create my coaching from all the suffering I had as a child. And I talked about like the Band-Aids and everything that were ripped off from it and everything, but it's pretty cool to kind of see. That's why I always tell people, whatever you do, journal in some aspect, because I was afraid. I was exactly like you were saying. I was kind of in paralysis by analysis, because I've spoken on a few episodes I was a guest on. I was like, I've been afraid to kind of journal for so long because it brings back those memories. But bringing back those memories actually helped.
Yeah, I mean, I think you may have caught one of our episodes where Jeff Black, I don't know if you know, but he's like, you know, he suffered from a brittle bone disease.
Yeah.
His childhood was really rough. I mean, from, you know, just getting made fun of to having to re-break his leg every 2 hours after that surgery that required 18 surgeries. And he sat down and wrote a book. And he's like, man, all these memories came flooding back, but it was actually very therapeutic for him to kind of forgive himself, because at 8, he was the one that made the decision to go racing down that hill and bust his leg and cause the limp and, all those different things. So, he said it allowed him to forgive himself. I do more of mental journaling. So you do oral. I don't really write things down. It's just not my thing. But I'm constantly going through different things that not only, maybe I just need to get done, but also things that I need to work on about myself. And I've done that more and more as I've gotten older. So,
yeah. And I think the last thing before I let you go, because you're on prep and, that's always, I haven't gone through it personally, but I know some friends who have, and it's a busy time.
Your brain's just not what it normally is by this point. But I'm all right, man. Ask away.
Maybe we'll catch you. Maybe we'll catch you for an update after.
Hell yeah. But I'll come on again.
But I want to ask, where do you actually see kind of what's the next moves for you? With whether it's bodybuilding, the company, anything kind of cool you're working on, like the joint supplement you were kind of doing, but anything cool just in general in your life that you want to
so Scooby Prep, I love it. I'm always going to coach. Even when I'm 60, I plan on coaching. I hope I don't have to have as many clients, but I do plan to coach. But where I'm headed is there's a big demand right now for my online classes. I'm coaching one on, gut protocols for healing in athletes, the SIBO, IBS, acid reflux, constipation, gas, all those things. I give my protocols. I'm also teaching a hormone class. And I give my whole protocol on how to apply what's going on with labs and how to fix it. It's not just a science course. It's application. I teach you what's going on, but it's a lot of application on how to fix it. And so a lot of people are wanting more learning opportunities from me. So Vince and I are creating something called Nuethix Coaching Academy, NCA. And we're going to put together videos, and it'll have quizzes, and there's going to be different levels of certification. And it's going to be the only certification where you can get functional medicine and physique principles in one.
That's pretty
cool.
We're
really excited about it. We're going to be cranking out videos August at night. I'm going to be super busy, but I really believe in the project. And so that's my next step. I don't have any supplement right now that I'm formulating, but as problems arise with our athletes, we will certainly bring out more. So we're definitely going to keep doing that. And then I'm building out Team Scooby. I've got about 5 coaches. I'm going to add 2 more after this prep. So that'll bring me to 7, so that I can keep, helping all the people that reach out to me, because I'm only one person and I can't always, but I can teach the functional medicine principles along with the physique principles to my coaches. And I call them, we're hybrid coaches. That's where the industry's going. If you aren't a hybrid, and you're just macros, you're going to get left behind. And so all my coaches are going to be hybrid. And so I'm going to build that out. We got a new website coming. It's going to be really cool. So I'm really excited. I've got new moves. I've got things to head towards. I'm newly single. I'm going to, get done with prep and enjoy life. Get to visit and travel a little bit more. So yeah, man, I'm kind of excited for where I'm at. Things are going well. I just have to keep cranking out good content and moving forward. And I mean, that kind of applies to every coach. Learning more. I got to keep learning more. I think the new direction is going to be genetics. And so I've already got a few clients running their 23andMe labs, and we put them through LiveWello. And then I read them for them. And that gives us another way to find out areas of the body that, need certain minerals and vitamins, and maybe different, maybe they have MTHFR. It gives us another opening into fixing people and optimizing them. I'm a big believer in optimization. Once that happens, you're in the zone and things just come easily. So yeah, man, that's kind of where I'm headed. I appreciate the question.
Yeah, no, that's pretty cool. Yeah, actually, you guys kind of inspired me I signed on to NCI about in January. I just sent in my certification for my first level 1. And with that, I'm also doing the hormone class, because everybody's been preaching it, because I think to actually be any sort of reputable coach, even though I'm only 22, it's going to be important to start
I'm
being
telling you,
able
man,
to learn
come
it.
take mine. Like the application that I give on how to fix people,
Yeah.
it's a game changer. I've had probably already 120 coaches go through it.
Awesome. Yeah, definitely. That's something I'm thinking about doing. So we're at the end of the time here, but before you go, I kind of ask the same 3 questions for every single
Uh-huh.
guest that comes on the
Sure.
show. First one is, what 3 things do you want people to leave with after either listening or watching this?
Well, I always just try to be myself, and I hope that they can see that that I'm kind of the same guy that I am on my Instagram and my videos that I am in person. That I like to help. So if you want to reach out, do so. I don't mind answering questions. Don't abuse it, but I don't mind answering free questions. And then number 3, I'm always looking to work with good people. If you're someone who executes and you want a coach who is up to date on keeping you healthy hormonally, but also can get the job done physique wise, hit me up. Let's work together.
Awesome. Second to last question is, what 3 books and or podcasts, I'm going to say not your own, do you recommend everybody either read or listen to?
Okay. I think every coach should read Cortisol Connection. I think that in physique athletes, I've looked at thousands of labs, and cortisol is one of the biggest problems. Again, cortisol in itself is not bad. It's the excess buildup where it's not metabolizing properly.
Yep.
But it's one of the biggest, in my opinion, stress is one of the biggest issues that leads to the metabolic and hormonal issues. And so I would read Cortisol Connection. I would also read Beyond the Pill. You're going to have a lot of women who have been on birth control and their hormones are fucked. And if you read that book, it's going to give you a really good idea how to fix things. And then a podcast that I like is Ben Pakulski's. He's got a lot of broad topics that I really like. And so for me, he's one of the ones that I do tune into. So.
Yeah, I tune into that one as well. There's too many, once you get into this world, there's too many things to listen to, but you just got to find the time.
Yes.
And lastly, you already mentioned your kind of prep company, but where could people kind of find you for any questions, podcast, anything?
100%.
It's time to shameless plug yourself.
Yeah, I appreciate it. So check out, I'm gonna give you a few websites. Nuethix.com. Okay. Nuethix.com for our supplements. To contact me, the best way, guys, is always email. I know people like DM, but if we're not friends, it goes to that junk file or whatever they call it.
This guy right here.
Yeah. Goes to other requests. And I check that like every 2 weeks when I'm like, oh shit, I haven't checked that. So just email me, jason@scoobyprep.com. Super easy. And I'll get that. I treat my business like a day job. I get up at 7, I'm in the seat by 7:30, and I work till 5 or 6 p.m. I do break to train, but otherwise I am working. So if you email me, you are going to get a response. I respond fast. All my clients will confirm that. But otherwise, check my Instagram. I got tons of pictures of myself and my coaches and my athletes on there. And that is Scooby Prep _IFBB Pro. So that's my Instagram. On Facebook, you can add me. It's just Jason. And then my last name, Theobald, Theobald. You can hit me up through ScoobyPrep.com, though. If you go there and you forget my email, there is a contact, and it does flow through to me, or my admin does forward that to me. So a lot of ways to get in touch with me. You can still try the DM, but like I said, if you don't hear from me, try the email. It's not that I don't want to respond. I just haven't seen it.
Yeah, I definitely recommend everybody reach out to him if you ever have a question on anything, especially hormones and gut health. And then if you definitely want to try out their products, I've tried Cordy's and it's amazing as well. So I think if you're in for another brand, I know the podcast and me is with Morphogen, but I believe in shouting out products that work. So I definitely want to give your company a praise for that, because they actually work. So find those companies that work and trust them. But Jason, actually, before we go, lastly, everybody, if you did enjoy listening to this episode, take a screenshot, tag Jason and I on Instagram, show us some love, and I'll show some love back. And thank you, everybody, and thank you, Jason, for
you're welcome
coming on this episode of the Ace of Spada podcast.